first in football.
Women should play football.
An analyst who came out and said that Caleb Williams has never dealt with adversity in his college career. So Caleb Williams took to social media and responded, and he said, first he defined adversity. He said, year one didn't start my freshman year. Year two popped a hammy in the championship game. First quarter, lost because of my hammy. Year three, 7-5, my last year of college ball. What do you make of this back and forth in advance of him being the number one?
I like the fact that he's sticking up for himself to a point. You also have to be able to shut down all the negativity out there, especially from random people who you've never met who are going to use your popularity to further their own careers or their own agendas, which happens too often now these days on social media and even on shows like this and radio shows and whatnot. But I like the fact that he hears it, acknowledges it, and he's got an answer for it. It's stupid. You had to say that the kids never had any kind of adversity. When playing sports alone guarantees adversity.
Yes.
Because there's no such thing as the perfect player. There's no such thing as a guy that's never lost or been beaten. That animal does not exist. So if you don't like Caleb Williams, just come out and say you don't like Caleb Williams for whatever the silly reason might be. But the kid's a rock star. He's a generational talent, and the fact that, he was 7-5 is not solely on him. It says a lot about the guys he was playing with and the competition as well. But the notion that you're about to go in to the NFL draft and played high-level college football, and someone wants to accuse you, because that's what this is. This is an accusation to try to put you down, that you've never experienced adversity, then whoever said that or wrote it has never once in his or her life competed at anything.
Well, that was Greg McElroy, ex-Jet. I played with Greg, and now he does a great job covering college football. He's the one that made the statement.
Well, by the way, and thank you, because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
When did anyone give a rat's ass about what Greg McElroy had to say about the sport of football? And I respect the fact that he made it to the pros, and he has talent that the far majority of people didn't have. But this is my problem with what we do for a living. It's always negative. It's always, let me make a name for myself for putting an opinion out there, not tongue-in-cheek, not to have fun, but because I played quarterback and I can tell you he's going to struggle because he's never had adversity and the NFL is going to give him a little dose of humble pie. Shut up. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sure Greg's a nice guy, but shut up.
No, it's SEC bias, right? Because, listen, there was no smoke for Trevor Lawrence. There was no smoke for Deshaun Watson came out, right? At the end of the day, those guys got drafted and went on to have decent careers. But at the end of the day, for Caleb Williams moving forward, man, I like the fact, to your point, that he has clapped back because even though he went to USC, he's not Hollywood. He's restrained. He's reserved. The worst thing we have to say about Caleb Williams is that he has pink nail polish, right?
Yeah,
That's the worst thing you can say about him. The kid balled.
And by the way, and to stop you just there for a second, and people criticize that.
Right. And at the end of the day, the reason he was 75 because his last year, because his defense was atrocious. They were ranked 119th. Overall, the kid did all he could to help USC win. So for me, I love Caleb Williams. I'm glad he's going to be a Bear, but he has to understand one thing. When you go into the league, nobody's going to shut up. It's going to continue.
So I just did a very cursory look into Greg McElroy's amazing career.
Say that, Alabama.
Greg McElroy, for his professional career, I mean, this is off the charts. I should take back my comments because this guy certainly knows what he's talking about when it comes to playing in the NFL. 1 touchdown pass. 1. He has a single touchdown pass. 1. Meaning he's got 1 more than I have.
Yes.
1. Okay? How many yards did he throw for in his NFL career? Got to be a couple thousand, right? Yeah, 200. 200 yards is what he threw for. So how about this, Craig McElroy? Zip your lip, throw away the key, and stop being a hater.
There you go.
I think Caleb Williams crying after that one loss is sticking with him in a way that if he never did that, we
Well, look at the optics, right? He's about to fall out the bleachers holding his mom.
By the way,
him up.
I love that.
I like this, Craig. Let's do it, Craig. Let's do it, Craig.
First off, a kid who has a great relationship with his mom. We're going to knock that.
Love that.
A kid that cares so much
about
trying to win that he's heartbroken when they lose, and his mom happens to be there, and he goes to his mom for solace, and we're going to find a problem with that. Not on my watch, sir.
I love it.
Not on my. Now,
I
will say this. As much as I got no problem with that, don't do that in Chicago.
Don't do that anywhere.
Don't do it in Chicago.
Don't do it.
You could do it in Carolina.
Well, maybe.
You could probably get away with that in Tennessee. Totally. Maybe not. You could do it for sure in L.A. You guys are all soft from L.A. But in Chicago, I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it. Remember, Chicago still loves Jim McMahon. He never cried in his mom's
Sid
arms.
Luckman. I've been dying to say that.
Sid Luckman's dad was a made man.
Right.
Yeah, you didn't know that story.
He's a blue-collar
That's
silly.
right. Made man who went to prison for allegedly killing somebody. That's a true story.
Allegedly.
Well, he was driving
Moving
the
on
truck.
from the Luckman family to second and football and the New York Giants. They were supposedly targeting a quarterback in the draft, but now Joe Shane, the GM, said this, quote, "We don't want to be up here again. People assume we're going QB, but we have other needs. If the QBs go 1 through 4, then we'll be getting the second best position player, not QB, at 6, which is okay too." Now, they've worked out with a bunch of quarterbacks. They don't like Daniel Jones. We've heard that. What do you think about this from Shane?
Yeah, I think that's a rare case of a guy being honest.
Oh.
Right? Because unless they fell in love with one of these quarterbacks and moved up to get him, they're not getting him at 6. So what he's saying there is, if everything kind of holds, to where it's at now, I think the Cardinals make a move. But let's just say, assume it stays.
The Chargers are between.
Assume it stays the
quarterbacks
same, just because we can't predict trades just yet for the NFL draft. He's right. If you're sitting there at 6, 4 quarterbacks are going before you pick, meaning you're going to get the second best non-quarterback available. Then the question becomes, what's the biggest need you have that you have to fill? Now, I think it's offensive help, meaning go out and get one of the stud wide receivers.
Neighbors or Alt.
Or a Bowers, all right, because of the direction we're taking the tight end in the NFL. Alt, of course, is the Notre Dame lineman who you have to figure would be available at 6 as well. But I think Shane's keeping it real right there. Unless, again, the smoke screen is we're going to go up to 4, we're going to trade with the Cardinals, because here's what you know. Chicago's taking Caleb.
Yep.
New England's not trading out. And Washington's not trading out. They're going to take the next 2 quarterbacks, whether that's Daniels or Drake May, whoever it is.
Those 3 are going to go first.
The only pick right now that I think is in play would be the 4 pick. Meaning, do you try to get from 5 to 4? If you're the Giants, do you try to get from 6 to 4? Because you covered what people would say is the 4th best quarterback in this draft. If not, I go back to what Jimmy Harbaugh said, a week and a half ago. And he's right. If the quarterbacks go in the way we think they're going to go, we essentially have the first pick in the draft.
That's one way of looking at it.
Yes.
However, I do want to point out that it has never been 1 through 4 quarterbacks in the history of the NFL draft. It's never happened.
Yeah, I think this year it does happen. Assuming, again, the Cardinals trade out. If the Cardinals stay there, then I think it's quite obvious it's Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yep.
They get a wide receiver for Kyler Murray. Ever since Hop left, they haven't had that guy. And I think that's an obvious pick for them.
I don't think they entertain the thought of getting a receiver or quarterback. They need an offensive lineman. The Giants gave up 85 sacks last year.
Yeah, now they have rebuilt the entire offensive line, though.
Yeah, but they still need help.
I mean, you talking about for the last decade, they've been chasing a solid core five. They don't have it. Hopefully they get that this year. But if I'm them, you 100%. If Joe Alt is on the board, you snatch him
let me ask you,
ASAP.
look, I can't tell you if the kid's generational left tackle or not. You can.
Yeah.
Is he that guy?
I think he's awesome. I think you're talking about footwork, technique. He knows how to mix up his pass sets and does a great job finishing on the second level. I think he's probably the most complete offensive lineman in the draft.
All right, so
they
look,
also have a need at receiver, and Neighbors is going to be there. I'm assuming that Harrison will go first. Neighbors will be there at 6.
Yeah, but
and they need
can't.
a receiver.
Your receiver can't do his job unless the offensive lineman block. Once again, they had 85 sacks last year. Your quarterback has a neck roll. They need protection.
Look, they have rebuilt the offensive line. If you can get a generational left tackle, you get a generational left tackle because you protect your quarterback. The only other thing I'll tell you, and I'm not a drafting guy, but I do pay attention to what the insiders and quote-unquote experts say about it because they're good at their jobs, like a Joel Klatt here at Fox, et cetera. And to me, the smoke that's out there now, which I do find interesting, and I don't know where it comes from because it's mind-bogglingly stupid.
It's legal here in New York City.
Thank you. Is that Marvin Harrison Jr. might be the second wide receiver taken. That the Neighbors kid, a lot of people think has a chance. Again, this is just smoke and pre-draft chatter. He could go number one, which would be very interesting as well.
Do you expect them to still be the class of the AFC next season?
No. I mean, how clear do I have to be about it? We know the class of the AFC next year. It's the
Steelers.
The quarterback defines football to be yummy.
Here we go.
Like, it's the Jets. Like, you guys keep sleeping on the Jets because they're the Jets. You sleep on the Jets at your own peril. Baltimore's going to be good. They're not going to be as good as they were last year. They lost 3 offensive linemen. They lost their arguably heart and soul, their defense, and Patrick Queen, their linebacker. Yes, they added Henry, so I'll give you an upgrade at the running back position, despite the fact that they led the league in rushing last year. So you can't do better than that. I assume you could lead the league again, but you can't do better than leading the league. And you guys keep forgetting about the Jets, so shame on you guys. My quarterback came out yesterday and said that football is yummy. Yummy. Yeah. All right? I've got a Mount Rushmore of yummy things coming up later on in the show.
Do you really?
And I can tell you what, I didn't have football on my list, and now I do.
Oh. Yeah.
Football is yummy. That's my 40-year-old quarterback talking like a third grader.
Yes, say no to drugs.
Say yes to drugs.
No, say no.
That, by the way, and here's the other great thing, if I may say, take that Ravens crap off the bottom of my screen. All right? Here's the other great thing about my guy on Rodgers saying how football is yummy again.
What?
And he fell in love with football, which I know we're going to get to coming up in a little bit on the show, but I'm so excited about it.
Toddler talk.
He also acknowledged that he was an egomaniac, and he killed off the ego.
Did we need to hear that?
He now
like we didn't know that.
But thank you.
Aaron Rodgers has an ego?
That you leave that on the bottom of my screen the rest of this show.
Not Aaron, who held the Green Bay Packers hostage for the last 4 seasons.
By the way, here's what you guys are funny to.
Okay.
All right?
We're funny.
It's 7:38, and you've dropped it. Yeah, I'm from Los Angeles, and I forgot about the Jets.
Right.
And
you just hung Greg McAvoy by his feet.
Greg McAvoy should keep his lip tight. The fact that anyone even interviews him is a joke to me. Unhireable douche. In any event, I'm sure he's a lovely guy.
Yeah.
In any event,
very nice.
Here's the mistake you guys are making.
What's this?
You guys are just critical for the sake of being critical, and frankly, it's annoying to me. Here's why.
It's annoying
if I may. Here's
why. Let's hear this.
If I may, here's why.
Here it is, Craig. Let's hear this.
That was hard for you.
Yeah.
Here's why, Stan Smiths. Here's why my problem with you two is, okay?
Okay.
Because the guy acknowledged that he had an ego, and the ego needed to be killed off. And he killed it off in his last ayahuasca trip. Why don't we celebrate the fact that he's becoming a more well-rounded human being and acknowledges that he's got to drop the ego at the door and be a regular human being? I applaud him.
He's 40 years old.
Why didn't you drop the ego when you landed in New York and everybody in Green Bay was scared that you was out the building?
Is that right?
And that you hung your young receiver core out to dry because somehow you couldn't get together with them.
Again.
And by the way, the offseason before that, you wouldn't talk to them. So you wonder why you don't have any chemistry.
Again, he was that guy. Now he's at peace and at one with the universe.
So every time,
I love it.
So every time Aaron Rodgers has a troubled season, he has to go to an ayahuasca resort to get right.
All I know is this: my quarterback has rediscovered his love for the sport. He first had it when he was 5. He finds football to be yummy. Hey there! Thank you so much for watching the Carton Show. You can subscribe right here to get all the latest bits and segments from the show. And by the way, while you're at it, we have a lot of great shows on FS1, so check them out too.